is he tells him to do Sam Beal to do everything opposite what Jake Something does, or opposite of everything Jake Something. So, Brian Myers definitely keeping it entertaining. Then you get the Impact World Tag Team Champions, Violent by Design, Joe Doring and Diener, with Eric Young and Rhino, versus Eddie Edwards and Satoshi Kojima. If I butchered that name, I'm so sorry. I tried. Um, it was a really, really good match overall, which you kind of expect from Diener and Doring. And honestly, let's be honest, Eddie Edwards and Kojima. But ultimately, the Violent Dead by Design retained and moved on. Violent by Design is probably one of the better tag teams, and I should really call it a stable going in wrestling right now. Eric Young is a great leader. He makes it very believable. He makes it seem like he is a demented leader. So more power to him. I think that this is an example of what Sanity could have been in WWE if they actually put effort towards him once leaving NXT. Because this Violent by Design feels very much Sanity-like. And honestly, Eric Young is probably putting on one of the better performances as like a manager that I've seen in a while. So this is again, I don't want to say against WWE, but this is an example where WWE dropped the ball. And kind of moving away from this, it's an example of like WWE is critiqued so much because they kind of show themselves to be a bad business. They miss opportunities with wrestlers, which, I'm not saying everyone needs to be champion, but how do you not work with Eric Young? And more recently, they cut Killian Dane. Killian Dane has been on TV consistently for years now, both as part of Sanity, and he returned back to NXT and was tag teaming with Drake Maverick. He definitely is a big man, good performer, but they cut him. And it's just like the Samoa Joe thing. It kind of feels like one hand doesn't know what the other's doing. And apparently not a lot of people knew that these cuts were going to happen. These cuts were mainly made, I guess, by decision made by Nick Khan. And I think I read recently that WWE Triple H didn't know what cuts were happening. I guess he had big plans for a lot of people on 205 Live, and they ended up being cut. And I get it. It's a large company. They have thousands, I believe, employees overall. It just feels like you would think someone with the level of Triple H has, he would know more about what's going on, and they're not. They're not telling him, and that's a problem. And I don't know. I don't know why WWE is doing the things that it does. And I understand the companies have to let go of people occasionally, and that kind of comes with the territory. Now, if it was a situation where, granted, it's not better, but it makes more sense. If they say that, we didn't have anything planned for them, and they've been staying on the sideline for a couple of months, so we are gonna go ahead and let you go so you can do something else. I get that. That makes a lot more sense than some of the people that they've cut recently were just on TV not even a week before. And it's really, really hard to grasp the idea of, I'm going to put you on TV. I'm going to run these vignettes. I'm going to make people interested when you come in. Now I'm going to cut you after you make an appearance. It's it's rough. It's rough. You expect better of a company that's been going as long as they have. it's just rough. That that's that's my take on that. Um, I just really wish that they're able to turn this around and make it better. I don't like being negative about WWE. Um, it's not my favorite thing to do. Um, I just really I really want them to do better and be better, and that's where it comes down to. I know that this kind of took a more slower pace and quieter tone towards the end, but just thinking about how I want to express my disappointment in the company, um, it makes it really, really hard to kind of sound energetic when you're upset with something like that. You know, I've been a big fan of wrestling since I was right around 11 or 12, and WWE's always been around. All right, well, WWF back in the day. I will say I was a bigger fan of WCW back in the day, but that's just preference more than anything else. They've always been around. They've always been there, and you kind of know to expect when you get, well, for the most part, what you get from WWE. But when they keep making mistakes like this and treating people terribly, it's kind of hard to want to invest into them. It's kind of hard to want to invest in a character knowing full well that they could probably be cut the next week and nothing, comes of it. I've been disappointed by Owens' direction, because I think Owens is probably one of the best guys that they got on the roster, but he's directionless. He keeps getting stuck in these lower card matches after doing upper card matches, and honestly, Owens deserves to have multiple championship runs as the top title, in my opinion. But I'm not on the creative. I'm not in charge of WWE. I can't make it happen, even though I think it should. I have plenty of ways where I can book Owens into a championship match and win it and retain it for a while. But that's just my perspective on it. I think he deserves it. I think all the effort he's put in, he deserves it. And I think with his mic ability, he doesn't even need a manager. But, it is what it is. And there's nothing you can do that can change that. One of the things I will say, now that this falls on the whole anniversary of the pipe bomb as well, from 10 years ago, I preferred the presentation that WWE used to have in the early 2010s. I do not like the LED turnbuckle. I do not like the LED apron. I think it's too much. I do think that they should have their own individual sets for each TV show. I don't like the fact that every TV show looks the same. But I think that part of the presentation could afford to be changed. I like the old look of the steel turnbuckles. It looks like it could potentially hurt someone if you hit it. I prefer the regular apron because it didn't look like a mini, well, not mini because it's large. It didn't look like there's a TV there. It creates opportunities for different parts of the match, but again, I'm not in charge, so I can't really make those changes. But watching old pipe bombs and watching old CM Punk matches from the early 2010s because of the pipe bomb, it made me miss it. That's part of the presentation that I used to like about WWE, and now it's gone. I don't think they're ever going to change it because they spend money on it, and I can respect that. But it's one of those things that I think that they went too far trying to look futuristic to where it's kind of biting them in the ass now. They don't look like I don't know. It's a weird critique, but that was part of the thing I noticed. But that's how it is, and I've wanted to talk to you guys about the releases and things like that because it bothers me. It very much bothers me. Because they kind of come. It's weird to build up anticipation, put these guys on TV not even a couple days earlier, and then cut them. I don't understand how anyone could be loyal to a company that does things like that, because at that point you would have to work in fear, thinking that any minute now your job can be cut. You can't just rely on, I put on a show. I was on TV on Monday. They just built up all these vignettes, and nope, they're gone. And I would not be surprised if down the line WWE has a hard time of obtaining and keeping talent because of stuff like this. I think another example of that is Mike Bennett. Why did they sign Mike Bennett to not do anything with him? It doesn't make any sense. And Mike Bennett, the other thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way with the Mike Bennett thing is they gave him Canellis his wife's maiden last name. Why not let him be the Miracle Mike Bennett? It would work. But I don't want to be too negative on WWE. It's just those things rub me the wrong way. They really, really do. And I think it's a lot of mismanagement going on. And I hope that they could turn it around and make themselves a more viable product. But my faith in them is dwindling by the day, dwindling by the news reports of all these cuts happening and things like that. It's depressing. It's depressing to see something like that constantly happening. And now I can kind of feel like, the whole, like what people felt like when a lot of the negative press came out about Disney. Like, you grew up loving Disney, and you find out a lot of the companies it's terrible on the inside. WWE, in my opinion, is no better than Walmart, and I have a lot of negative feelings towards Walmart. I still shop there because I kind of have to, but I don't like it. I don't like being in there. It's knowing what goes on the back end bothers me to the core, and that's where it's getting to with WWE. I pay attention to the shows because there is performers that I like, and I can run down a list of those performers that I like. And I understand that they're one of the biggest companies in the world, and honestly, with doing this podcast and talking about wrestling, you have to acknowledge the largest company in the world. I'm just not trying to give them too much attention. That's why I try to clump it all together with the whole Raw, SmackDown, NXT, because with them acting the way they are, I don't feel right in giving them a lot of attention. I think the better attention should be applied to other companies, and I'm going to bring in more. I've gotten a way to watch some of the other companies, but I have to find ways to watch even more of those companies, and I'm going to try to bring those in more and more. Ones that you're able to see, I don't see a reason to. I like independent wrestling, but I don't see a reason to, watch something that only people that live in a certain state, like let's say you're in Florida, only Florida can see, or California, or Michigan, or Texas, or New York, and Philadelphia, places like that. But I want to keep incorporating more and more to make it a little bit different. Of course, we're always going to pay attention to WWE because they're one of the largest, and that's an unfortunate circumstance. It's an unfortunate circumstance based on what we do the podcast about. With that being said, on the podcast as well, it does look like for the foreseeable future, it would just be me. Mark not participating at this point. He's just dealing with some stuff on his own, wishing the best. But for the foreseeable future, it's going to be me. I'm still going to try and bring in more people on like pay-per-views, and I want to get it to a point where we can do like a round robin, like 4 or 5 people talking about the pay-per-view, whether it be for WWE, probably be WWE because it's most accessible. But something like that. I want to bring that on because I think that discussion would be fun to do. But that's going to wrap it up for me. You can get the podcast on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at WrestlingSCool. Facebook is Wrestling Still Cool. And the Facebook @ is Wrestling Still Cool Pod. So that's one way you can find us on there. You still got the Instagram at Wrestling Still Cool. TikTok's Wrestling Still Cool 90. My independent, separate on its own TikTok is Wrestling Still or KM_ Wrestling Still Cool. I had to remember how to do that. And it's of course on LinkedIn as well. Email is wrestlingstillcool@gmail.com. Shoot us any kind of feedback you like. Leave us reviews as much as you can on iTunes, Apple Podcasts are the same thing. Any other thing, any location you get the podcast, I believe we're on iHeartRadio as well as like Podbean and a few others. Maybe even Anchor FM if I remember correctly. But that's how you can find us. Again, like what you like. Don't be a dick. People want to talk positively about a company you might not like. Accept it. People, it's all subjective. Now you can offer your opinion why you think a wrestler or is a heel or might not be as good as they perceive it. It's fine. Just don't do low blows, man. But that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.